On everyone. So we're all anxiously waiting around for when and if the Dejounte Murray trade happens, right? That's the big question. Is it going to happen? Is it going to get done? We're moving closer and closer to the trade deadline. We are just a hair over a week away from the trade deadline. We need to get this done, right? It's like, come on, let's go get Dejounte Murray. What's taking so long? Now, based on the reports and information that we have, the Lakers have to find a third team for D'Angelo Russell, that the Atlanta Hawks are not interested in trading for D'Lo. They don't believe that he will work alongside Trae Young, and they don't want him opting in to his option, and now they're stuck with him for another year. They would rather prefer and acquire some type of expiring contract. Now, there are plenty of teams that have expiring contracts that could make sense to help facilitate and be a third team in this deal. The problem is not any team, one, is going to be willing to do that, and two, are very likely going to want something in return if they don't see value for D'Lo, right? So, for example, there's reports of like the Charlotte Hornets that they would be interested in a D'Angelo Russell, maybe facilitating D'Angelo Russell, right? They got the Kyle Lowry contract. They could be a team that could easily come in, plug in, and maybe get some assets out of it. But they're not a team that wants D'Lo. They're not a team that makes sense for D'Lo. They're not a team that is going to look at it and go, oh man, we definitely want D'Angelo Russell. He's the missing piece or anything like that, right? So if you're a team like the Lakers, what is it going to cost you to send D'Lo to a team like the Charlotte Hornets, right? The Orlando Magic, they're a team that is supposedly interested, based on reports, on maybe acquiring D'Angelo Russell. The Orlando Magic is a team that, based on those reports, actually like the idea of D'Angelo Russell and think that he would be beneficial to the Orlando Magic team. Because one of the things that they really lack is a true playmaker, somebody that can really make plays for others. They believe that they have everything else. They're just missing that go-to playmaker to kind of set everything up, get everyone involved, get Banchero in his position where he likes the ball, Wagner, all those guys, right? Right now, they're basically running Suggs, who defensively is great, but as far as the assist totals go, that's the problem. And you got guys like Cole Anthony off the bench, stuff like that. So Orlando is a team that makes sense in the regards of like they would view him as a positive asset rather than a team like the Hornets that would view him as a negative asset. Other options that I think are very likely and make sense, and again, this is more towards teams that make sense for D'Lo or for trading for D'Lo, like would actually view him as an asset. And one team that comes to mind is the Brooklyn Nets, which again is a team that's been heavily reported. So in Brooklyn's instance, they are a team that has a guy named Spencer Dinwiddie, who, there are literal reports that have came out that Dinwiddie basically has just given up on the Brooklyn Nets, and that he is like refusing to, he's playing, but he's refusing to really play. Like he's just kind of out there earning a paycheck. His head is completely out of it, and he needs to go. He needs to be traded. And you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, they desperately need a playmaker. They desperately need somebody that can facilitate and help as well hit shots for those teams. And they just don't have that. So a simple solution would be to like take Spencer Dinwiddie, send him and his expiring contract to a team like the Atlanta Hawks. Also, Dinwiddie does make a lot of sense for the Hawks alongside Trae Young, right? Because Dinwiddie is a defensive kind of 3-and-D style point guard, not really a playmaker, but he's a guy that can defend. He's got good size, good strength, especially for a guard type of player, right? Obviously, he's not the shooter or anything like that, but he is a guy that, if he's bought in, locked in, focused, can be excellent on the defensive side of things, as well as provide some level of scoring. This is a guy that had seasons where he's averaged 19 a game. So they could kind of look at that and go, okay, we could bring in a Dinwiddie, kind of get a look at him for the season. If it makes sense and he works, maybe we keep him and re-sign him. If it doesn't, we just let him go and expire, and good luck to you, right? And for a team like Brooklyn, they'd be looking at it as like, okay, we're replacing Dinwiddie with a guy that, one, we're familiar with, but also a guy that can actually make plays, total up the assists, but go give you, 17 to 20 on a nightly basis, shoot the three ball excellently. He's shooting over 40% this season, and basically give you that translation from what we saw with the Lakers to now Brooklyn, and kind of help take some of the pressure off of a Bridges and a Thomas and a Johnson, and the pick and roll action with Nick Claxton. One of the best plays in all of basketball is the D'Lo Anthony Davis pick and roll, right? Having Claxton, who you could run that pick and roll with, and various other players, I think would go a long way for the Brooklyn Nets. Again, it's a situation that makes sense for all parties involved. And then also maybe the Lakers could go look and acquire some other pieces from the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe you're expanding the deal, right? Throwing in like a Rui Hachimura and get a Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, or maybe you can get both, right? And maybe you can expand this a little bit. Problem is, 3-team deals are very complicated, very difficult, and more times than not end up falling through because somebody somewhere ends up changing their mind, or they want more, or whatever. There are so many 3-team deals throughout the history that fall through, and so many more that you've never even heard of that almost happened that ended up falling through. Because it's just, there's a lot that just never see the light of day because they just never get to that stage. They never get done, but they're initially discussed and all that stuff. So again, team like the Brooklyn Nets do make a lot of sense. And then another big team that makes sense would be the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I know some people are going to be like, absolutely no way Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs are going to trade with the Lakers. Well, they were going to last year with Russell Westbrook. They were willing to take on Russell Westbrook to get picks and all kinds of stuff. They've came close to making deals before in the recent years. I understand, the Spurs and the Lakers, and Greg Popovich was part of the complaining about the Chris Paul situation. And I understand the relationship 10 years ago. We're in a different era. We're in a different time. We're in a different place, right? Again, San Antonio was vocal about being interested in acquiring Russell Westbrook. There was countless reports last season about San Antonio being a destination for Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook didn't make any sense for San Antonio. They were just going to do it to just clear some salary and take on some assets. Well, D'Angelo Russell is a guy that actually does make sense for San Antonio. San Antonio has like zero playmaking. Right? They have a bunch of forwards that aren't playmakers trying to play playmaker rather than a real true playmaker, right? Trey Jones, he's the closest thing that they have, and he's solid, he's serviceable, but more so in a backup role, right? He's more of his brother Tyus, who, yes, he can fill in on any given night as a starter, but he is probably best suited as your backup type of point guard. If he's your backup point guard, you're in a good situation. Again, one of the best actions in all of the NBA is D'Lo and Anthony Davis. Imagine what D'Lo with Victor Wembanyama could be. Have that guy who actively is trying to get Victor the ball. Do you know how many, if you ever watch San Antonio games, it blows you away how Victor Wembanyama is clearly by far and away San Antonio's best player, yet there are times where it's like he's not even on the court to the other players. They make zero attempts to try to get him the basketball, even when he has good established position, even when he's rolling and he's by himself, they'll just completely look him off. You know who won't do that is D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell will do everything that he can to get him the ball, get him the most shot attempts, and make him as efficient and effective as possible. San Antonio, to me, makes a lot of sense for D'Angelo Russell. Now, I don't know what else you could get. For me, it would just be... For me, I look at Brooklyn, I look at as a team that would be willing to give up other assets potentially, and you could maybe expand on a bigger deal. San Antonio, in that regard, I do not. That's where I think the San Antonio, we're not going to do anything unless it's a fleece level deal on our end to get a deal done. And that's what this would be. You would essentially get D'Angelo Russell for free because Spurs have expiring contracts, right? Like they have like Doug McDermott and other pieces. Like, so they could take some expiring deals, go ship that out to the Atlanta Hawks to then facilitate the Dejounte Murray trade, which again, the Spurs were willing to be a facilitator in the Russell Westbrook trade, or even just trade straight up for Russell Westbrook. Because again, there would have been benefits for the Spurs. This is something that would benefit the Spurs, and it wouldn't cost them anything, right? They could go and trade for Dejounte Murray, but you're going to give up a bunch of picks, a bunch of assets. You'd have to give up a bunch of things to go get Dejounte Murray, or you could just be the third team in that deal that allows him to go to Lakers. You're not competing for NBA championships right now, so it doesn't matter to you. You're tanking for the bottom, and you're just trying to establish pieces that make sense for now and the future. D'Lo, you would be able to get D'Angelo Russell for free. Like, it literally wouldn't cost you anything. You wouldn't have to give up any picks. You wouldn't have to give up any. Like, you literally just need to be the team that facilitates and gives up the expiring deals to go get D'Lo. Now you can look and see, what does D'Lo and Victor Wembanyama look like. If it works, great. You're talking to him about working out on a new contract. If it doesn't work, then fine. If he opts in, great. So be it. If he doesn't, well, then you let him go anyway, and you got a free second or maybe 2 seconds out of the deal, right? You basically got second round picks for nothing, right? Because you were going to lose McDermott and everyone else anyway. You're going to lose those guys for free anyway. So if you could even get a second round pick and maybe a potential starting level point guard for you, it's a win-win, right? And again, that would be a fleece level deal for the Spurs. But those are the teams that kind of come to mind the most. We'll see. Again, even if a trade even does happen, don't expect it anytime soon. The only team that benefits from getting the trade done right now is the Lakers, right? There is no incentive for Atlanta to really get this done ASAP. As much as we want it to get done, as much as I want it to get done, for being honest, there's no real incentive for Atlanta to get it done immediately. But now we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree with my points? Disagree with my points? Is there any other teams that come to mind that maybe you would think of that could make sense for D'Lo? Again, you want to trade D'Lo to a team that actually values D'Lo, because if you don't, then you're running the risk of having, like, what is the incentive for them, right? You're either A, going to have to give up more assets, or B, you're going to end up having to take on some salary or something that maybe you didn't want to take. So that is something that comes in mind. And I mean, it's also one of the reasons why, like, the reason D'Lo is not this hot commodity is for the same reason Dejounte Murray isn't. Right? There's very few teams that actually need a point guard. There are very few teams that look at this and go, oh man, let's trade the farm to go get Dejounte Murray, right? And some of these teams, if they do need a point guard, it's like, okay, well, we could trade a bunch of stuff to go get Murray, or we could just get D'Lo for free and see how that works. No, that's kind of the point. But anyway, again, how you feel, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.